Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking a granular look at the life and career of an artist whose impact stretches far beyond the pop charts.
We're looking at the sources surrounding Dame Olivia Newton-John.
A true global icon. I mean, we're talking about someone who sold over 100 million records, navigated these massive cultural shifts, and then used her platform to become one of the most dedicated health advocates of her generation.
Right, and it's essential to understand that her career is really a study in evolution and, I think, resilience. We aren't just recounting her greatest hits.
Oh, I don't know.
Our sources give us this really comprehensive map of her whole trajectory.
It starts in such an unexpected place, with a family background rooted in, high academic science and even military history.
And then it moves through her incredible success in film, these landmark legal battles that fundamentally altered the music industry's contract structure.
Which is a huge part of her legacy that often gets overlooked.
It really is. And it all concludes with her profound work as a humanitarian.
So our mission today is to connect these seemingly disparate parts of her life.
Yeah.
How does the girl from Cambridge with a Nobel Prize-winning grandfather?
Right.
How does she become the leather-clad Sandy of Greece and the global face of wellness advocacy?
It's a fascinating path.
We want to trace that path, linking the pure voice of "I honestly love you" to the seismic shift of "you're the one that I want," and of course the groundbreaking nature of physical.
And you'll find that the deeper we look, the more complex and fascinating her story really becomes.
So when you first think about Olivia Newton-John, the common image is often, sunshine and Australian beaches.
This is the brand, yeah.
Exactly. But the reality of her lineage, especially on her maternal side, is steeped in this high European history and academia and geopolitical upheaval.
It's a history that is genuinely surprising. It stands in such sharp contrast to her later, sunny, accessible pop persona.
She was born in Cambridge, England in 1948, but her family origins tell a much older, much more complex tale.
And then the family moved to Melbourne, Australia when she was 5 in 1954.
So this is really where the deep dive begins, in her maternal lineage. Her grandfather was Max Born.
A towering figure in 20th century physics. I mean, this isn't just a footnote. He was a German-Jewish physicist who would eventually win the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1954.
Right, for his fundamental contributions to quantum mechanics, specifically something called the Born rule.
Which is essential, even today, for predicting the probability of finding a particle in a given state. He was defining the very rules of the universe.
It's important to grasp the level of intellectual prestige that establishes not just that he was a famous scientist.
No, he was a pioneer, a genuine pioneer defining the mechanics of the modern world. And his family's movement was directly tied to the era's darkest chapter.
Exactly. The family, being German Jewish academics, they were forced to flee Germany.
They came to the UK in 1933 to escape the Nazi regime, which was a common but incredibly dangerous exodus for Europe's intelligentsia at that time.
And her maternal ancestry connects to other highly distinguished figures, too.
Yeah, the sources mention the renowned jurist Victor Ehrenberg, and perhaps most strikingly for history buffs, she is a descendant of the Protestant theologian Martin Luther.
That's just an incredible foundation of history, law, and fundamental science.
And if that side of the family wasn't steeped enough in historical significance,
then you look at her father's career.
Right. Brindley Newton-John, her father, lived a life that sounds like it's straight out of a spy novel. It's this combination of military intelligence and a high-level academia.
During World War II, he was a key MI5 officer.
He was centrally involved in the war effort at Bletchley Park, working on the Enigma project.
The famous code-breaking effort that shortened the war by years.
And the sources also cite an even more dramatic moment in his career. He was the officer responsible for taking Rudolf Hess into custody.
When Hess parachuted into Scotland in 1941, so her father was directly involved in handling one of the most high-profile prisoners of the entire war.
It's hard to reconcile the breezy sound of "Have you never been mellow" with the fact that her father was interrogating one of Hitler's deputies.
It really is. And after the war, Brindley transitioned out of intelligence work and back into the academic world.
He was highly educated. He served as the headmaster of the Cambridgeshire High School for Boys before the family moved.
And once in Melbourne, he became a professor of German and was the master of Ormond College at the University of Melbourne.
So, while Olivia's trajectory eventually diverged significantly from her family's, you have to remember she grew up in an intellectually rigorous, historically aware, and highly disciplined household.
And despite this rigorous background, she clearly possessed an artistic streak.
Oh, absolutely. Her focus shifted. Apparently, she aspired to be a veterinarian at one
I
point,
read that, yeah. She abandoned it because she was concerned about passing science exams.
which, given her family's academic standards, is pretty understandable.
So she pivots to performance almost immediately upon settling in Melbourne.
She started performing locally quite young. At 14, she formed this short-lived all-girl group called Sol 4.
And they performed at her brother-in-law's coffee shop.
Right, just getting started. She developed a strong local profile, appearing on popular Australian TV shows, which is where she picked up that affectionate nickname, Lovely Livy.
Her first big break was winning the Australian Talent Contest, Sing, 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 in 1965.
And she won with her performance of two pretty challenging songs, Anyone Who Had a Heart and Everything's Coming Up Roses.
The prize for that was the pivotal trip to Great Britain.
A trip she was initially reluctant to take. She was leaving behind her then-boyfriend, Ian Turpie.
But her mother recognized the opportunity.
She strongly encouraged her to go, emphasizing that she needed to broaden her horizons to escape the relative isolation of the Australian music scene.
That insistence proved to be the defining move of her early career.
But once in the UK, things didn't immediately take off.
No, she recorded her first single for Decca Records in 1966, Till You Say You'll Be Mine, and it just failed to chart significantly.
She really struggled. She even tried to book passage back home several times, only for her mother to step in and cancel the tickets.
Her mother was determined to keep her focused on success abroad.
So she needed some stability, some partnership, and she found it by teaming up with her friend Pat Carroll.
And they formed the duo, Pat and Olivia.
They started touring European nightclubs, and this is where they often experienced let's say, the awkward reality of the working musician.
Which brings us to that famously uncomfortable story about their booking at Paul Raymond's Revue in Soho, London.
It's such a perfect early career anecdote because it just captures her image then, naive and innocent, crashing headlong into the real world.
So they arrive, and they're dressed primly in these frilly, high-collared dresses.
Only to realize the venue is a strip club.
And they just...
Fine.
They continue to perform their sweet pop repertoire amidst all the adult entertainment, a complete contrast with their surroundings.
It speaks volumes about the chaotic, sometimes absurd, journey of a young artist trying to make it.
And we also have to mention the influence of Don Kirshner.
Right, the American producer who put together the Monkees and the Archies. He tried to package her in a sci-fi musical group called Tomorrow in 1970.
The sources show she was deeply disillusioned by that project's commercial failure. Both the film and the soundtrack just sank so quickly.
The group disbanded almost immediately.
But that failure with Tomorrow is actually a crucial, often overlooked piece of her story.
How so?
Because it directly informed her later decision-making. When she was approached for Grease later on, that early failure made her highly cautious.
Ah, okay.
It led her to insist on a screen test. She wanted control and an assurance that she wouldn't be part of another project that was doomed to fail.
So the early 1970s, this marks the period when she strategically pivots and finds her winning sound. She moves from those attempts at package pop to a really successful soft rock/country pop blend.
And it's tailored specifically for the lucrative U.S. market.
Precisely. Her first big international break came in 1971 with a cover of If Not For You.
Written by Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
which already gives it a certain credibility.
Absolutely. And this song was perfect for her. It hit number 25 on the pop charts, and crucially, it soared to number 1 on the adult contemporary chart.
And that adult contemporary, or AC, success provided a stable, loyal base that would support her career for decades.
But the true game changer for American recognition was Let Me Be There in 1973.
This track wasn't just a hit. It demonstrated her ability to fluidly cross genre lines.
It hit the top 10 on the pop, country, and AC charts all at the same time. That level of crossover success was rare, and it immediately validated her as a major force.
And this validation was confirmed by the industry. She won the Grammy Award for Best Country Female Vocal Performance.
And the Academy of Country Music Award for Most Promising Female Vocalist.
But here's where her success, particularly in the U.S., began to generate some significant friction.
Yes, this is where the unique dynamics of the American music industry really came into play.
You have this British-born, Australian-raised singer winning top honors in country music.
A genre that's fiercely protective of its roots and its geography, generally centered in Nashville, Tennessee.
So this influx of what critics called country-flavored pop, it sparked a massive debate among the traditionalists.
And it wasn't just a casual debate. It led to an organized, institutional response.
The protest against non-native artists dominating the country charts directly resulted in the formation of the short-lived but impactful Association of Country Entertainers.
Or ACE.
ACE, right.
And ACE was founded explicitly to push back against artists like her, whom they felt were diluting the genre's authenticity.
Their whole platform was essentially about protecting the genre's borders.
Exactly. A desire to see awards and chart dominance go to artists who were born in, based in, and reflected the traditional sounds of Nashville and the American South.
They just viewed her sound as too polished, too pop-oriented.
And not rooted in the traditional country narrative.
That organized pushback must have felt immense. Yet despite that, her commercial success was so overwhelming that she just continued to win the highest accolades.
She did. In 1974, she won the ultimate prize in the genre, the Country Music Association Female Vocalist of the Year Award.
And look who she defeated.
Established titans who embodied the genre's history. Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, Tanya Tucker.
She was the first British singer ever to win that award. Her victory was viewed by the traditionalists as a kind of hostile takeover.
But it proved that the public and large segments of the industry had embraced her sound.
And what's fascinating is how that conflict eventually led to acceptance. The sources note that even within the establishment, she gained powerful supporters,
including Dolly Parton's sister, Stella Parton,
who recorded Ode to Olivia in her defense, demonstrating solidarity against those narrow definitions of the genre.
And Olivia showed her dedication to the craft. Her 1976 album, Don't Stop Believin', was recorded directly in Nashville.
In Tennessee, yeah. It was a signal of her respect for the genre's capital, even while she maintained her signature soft rock style.
Her ability to define this soft rock, or what music historians often call the A.M. Gold staple sound.
That peaked with her signature song, I Honestly Love You, also released in 1974.
And A.M. Gold staples, just for context, refers to that highly melodic, accessible, and often sentimental soft rock that was all over AM radio in the 70s.
Music that avoided hard rock edges and favored really smooth production.
And I Honestly Love You embodied this perfectly. It was a massive success, topping the pop and AC charts, and it even landed in the country top 10.
That ballad confirmed her global status. It earned her the two most coveted Grammy Awards, Record of the Year and Best Pop Vocal Performance Female.
She later reflected on the song's depth, describing it as having a meaning that was deeper than the ocean, which really connected powerfully with listeners.
And just looking at the sheer pace of her dominance in this era, she achieved a pretty staggering statistical milestone.
She held the Guinness World Record for 45 years.
For the shortest gap between new #1 albums on Billboard 200, just 154 days.
From If You Love Me, Let Me Know to Have You Never Been Mellow, that speaks to an audience that was just hungry for her music.
And before she made the definitive move to the U.S., there's that brief but significant chapter representing the U.K. in the 1974 Eurovision Song Contest.
Right. The British public chose her song, Long Live Love, from a selection of 6 possible entries.
And she later expressed that she strongly disliked the song.
And maybe that lack of enthusiasm showed. She finished 4th.
Losing to a new group who would soon define 1970s pop.
ABBA with Waterloo.
It's a classic historical footnote. Had she loved the song, maybe the outcome would have been different, but that loss arguably prompted her final geographical and strategic pivot.
She was encouraged by her friend, fellow Australian singer Helen Reddy.
And she permanently moved from the UK to the US in late 1974. It was a move that solidified her superstar status and set the stage for her biggest cinematic transformation. So the move to the US really lays the groundwork for the single most defining moment of her public career.
The transformation.
The transformation of Olivia Newton-John, the soft rock ingenue, into Sandy Olsen, the icon of Greece in 1978.
And securing that role of Sandy was anything but straightforward.
No, she was 28 years old during filming, and she felt genuine anxiety about portraying a high school senior.
She was keenly aware of the pitfalls of cinematic missteps, right? She remembered the failure of Tomorrow.
So she insisted on a screen test with John Travolta. She needed to ensure they had chemistry and that the overall project was sound.
Thankfully, that screen test satisfied her, and the film was an absolute phenomenon.
It became the biggest box office hit of 1978. Its success not only cemented her status as a cultural icon, but it also produced one of the best-selling soundtrack albums of all time.
It just fundamentally changed her image forever.
The soundtrack was a massive vehicle for her. that iconic duet with Travolta, You're the One That I Want,
became one of the best-selling singles in music history.
She also delivered the chart-topping gold singles Hopelessly Devoted to You and Summer Nights.
The immediate dominance of that soundtrack is just astonishing. She became only the second woman ever, following Linda Ronstadt in 1977.
To have two singles, Hopelessly Devoted to You and Summer Nights, simultaneously ranked in the Billboard Top 5.
The public demand was explosive.
And it was that financial and cultural explosion that led directly to a major legal confrontation that profoundly impacted the entire music industry.
Her career success forced her into this landmark breach of contract lawsuit against her label, MCA Records.
And this case should be central to her lasting legacy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's unpack this lawsuit, because this is where the depth of the sources truly shines. It provides crucial context for understanding artist control.
So, in April 1975, she had signed a contract with MCA for a 2-year, 4-album deal.
The implied, though often flexible, requirement was the delivery of 2 albums per year.
And crucially, the contract, which was typical for the era, gave MCA the option to automatically extend the contract if the albums were delivered late.
This time-based contract was a standard industry maneuver if an artist was slow to deliver or if outside projects intervened.
The label could claim the term was unfulfilled and unilaterally extend the contract, effectively trapping the artist.
And in her case, her 4th album, Making a Good Thing Better, was late, mainly because she was occupied with filming Grease for a different label, RSO Records.
So when she failed to deliver that final album within the strict time frame, and with her market value now skyrocketing post-Grease,
MCA exercised its option to extend,
which would have prevented her from signing a new, much more lucrative deal elsewhere, but she decided to fight back.
On May 31st, 1978, she filed a lawsuit against MCA for $10 million.
Arguing that their failure to adequately promote her previous work essentially constituted a breach on their side, freeing her from the agreement.
And MCA countersued for $1 million and sought an injunction to legally prohibit her from recording for anyone else.
The court's ruling was highly nuanced, but had tectonic implications. The court did forbid her from signing with another label until the originally intended contract term had run its course.
However, and this is the key legal precedent, the court ruled that the contract was not automatically extended simply because she hadn't delivered the total number of albums required within the time frame.
This decision fundamentally challenged the predatory nature of that time-based system.
Before this ruling, labels could indefinitely prolong an artist's contract just by claiming an album was late.
So the ruling, which was partially in her favor, forced record companies to immediately rewrite their standard artist contracts across the board.
They shifted the basis of the deals from being measured by a specific number of years
to being measured solely by the actual number of albums recorded and delivered by the musician.
She essentially closed a major loophole that benefited the labels at the expense of creative freedom.
It's a profound legacy. She used her newfound star power to secure better contractual terms for countless artists who followed. She established a precedent for control and fairness in the industry.
So, following the legal battle and the success of Grease, she made a very conscious and immediate visual transformation.
Capitalizing on that new persona, her 1978 album, Totally Hot, was titled to reflect this.
And the visual change was jarring, moving from that pastoral image of the mid-70s to something much edgier.
The album cover featured her dressed entirely in leather, directly referencing the final, confident version of Sandy in Grease.
Musically, she embraced a more aggressive, up-tempo, and rock-oriented sound,
which you can hear in hits like A Little More Love and Deeper Than the Night.
The country sound was heavily de-emphasized, though, interestingly, the album still performed respectably on the country albums chart.
Which shows that her original audience hadn't entirely abandoned her, even as she evolved musically.
The transformation continued into her next major film, the roller disco fantasy Xanadu, in 1980.
Where she starred opposite the legendary Gene Kelly.
We know the film itself was a critical and commercial failure, often cited as one of the major flops of the early 80s.
Yet, despite the film's troubles, the sources underline that her musical drawing power was undeniable. The soundtrack was a massive commercial success.
Certified double platinum.
And it produced major hits like Magic, which topped the pop chart for 4 weeks, and the adult contemporary chart for 5 weeks, her biggest AC hit ever.
The film might have been savaged by critics, but the music secured her position.
And Xanadu later became a beloved cult classic, which proves its enduring influence. If Grease was a reinvention, Then the physical era, beginning in 1981, was a full-scale assault on the pop landscape.
This album solidified her image change with material that was far more risque and rock-oriented than anything she had attempted before.
It marks the absolute apex of her pop success and cultural relevance.
And she was very clear about this shift. The sources quote her explaining that she just wasn't in the mood for tender ballads.
She wanted peppy stuff, because that's how I'm feeling. It was a deliberate move away from the sentimental and towards the aggressive.
The title track, Physical, written by Steve Kipner and Terry Shattuck, became an absolute cultural anchor.
It spent 10 consecutive weeks atop the Billboard Hot 100.
Which matched the record at that time for the most weeks at #1.
And Billboard later ranked Physical as the single biggest song of the entire 1980s decade.
The lyrics themselves generated intense controversy. Billboard sources ranked Physical as the most popular single ever about sex.
I mean, due to its overt suggestive nature, let's get animal.
This led to very real consequences, including 2 radio stations in Utah banning the single from their playlists due to its perceived indecency.
So she needed a strategic countermove to manage the backlash, and what she did was a stroke of genius that helped define the early video era.
To offset the suggestive lyrics, she filmed an exercise-themed music video,
Brilliantly transforming the song into an aerobics anthem. She suddenly became the figurehead of the fitness craze, complete with colorful headbands and leotards.
That pivot wasn't just clever marketing. It had a lasting impact on the nascent music video industry.
MTV was just beginning its dominance, and her video won a Grammy Award for the Associated Video Album.
This effort helped pioneer the idea of a music video as a narrative or conceptual piece, rather than just a filmed performance.
It set a standard for the visual presentation of pop music that followed.
After the monumental success of Physical, she pursued several projects, though not all achieved the same height.
She reunited with John Travolta in 1983 for the film Two of a Kind,
which was sadly both critically and commercially unsuccessful.
But again, the music sources confirm her resilience. Even though the movie failed, the soundtrack remained commercially viable.
It went platinum and produced the hit single Twist of Fate.
This period also saw her pivot into ambitious entrepreneurial territory.
Right, recognizing the global interest in her Australian identity. She co-founded the retail chain Koala Blue in 1983.
With her longtime friend Pat Farrar, who had been Pat Carroll in the early duo days.
The concept was brilliant. Initially selling Australian imports, but it quickly evolved into a popular boutique chain selling clothing and lifestyle accessories.
Designed to market a chic, accessible Australian aesthetic globally.
The sources indicate the business was initially a major success, riding the wave of her popularity.
However, by the early 1990s, the economic climate and management challenges caught up with the venture. It declared bankruptcy and closed in 1992.
That failure led to a difficult period. She and Farrar faced a multi-million-dollar breach of contract lawsuit filed by franchise holders who had invested in the rapidly expanding chain.
And while it was a challenging business failure, the legal outcome was favorable to her. The lawsuit was ultimately dismissed by a judge on summary judgment in 1993.
They cited insufficient evidence to sustain the claims.
And this closure and legal entanglement coincided with a slowdown in her recording output.
Following the birth of her daughter Chloe in 1986, her subsequent studio albums, Soul Kiss and The Rumor, saw a notable commercial dip compared to the Physical era.
This was a classic case of generational shift in the charts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By the late 80s, the pop charts were dominated by younger artists like Debbie Gibson and Tiffany.
At approaching 40, she struggled to maintain the pop relevance she enjoyed earlier.
However, this period did usher in a shift in her lyrical maturity.
Critics praised The Rumor for taking on more meaningful contemporary subject matter. The album directly tackled serious themes like AIDS in the song Love and Let Live,
as well as important social issues like environmentalism and the challenges of single-parent households.
This artistic shift demonstrated her commitment to deeper expression, even as the commercial momentum slowed.
So the 1990s brought her career and her life to a complete standstill. It forced her into a new chapter defined by personal courage, immense resilience, and profound advocacy.
And we approach this phase with genuine sympathy, recognizing the challenging health journey she undertook.
Her first breast cancer diagnosis came in 1992 at the age of 43.
This was a devastating blow, made even more difficult because the diagnosis occurred on the very same weekend that her father died.
That confluence of loss and illness forced her to immediately cancel a major comeback tour that was planned around her third greatest hits collection. back to basics.
And tragically, this was not the end of the fight. The sources document 2 recurrences.
The first in 2013, and a more severe progression in 2017, when the cancer metastasized to her lower back.
This progressed to stage 3, leading to significant pain from the metastatic bone lesions.
In the face of this immense, multi-decade personal challenge, her response was truly extraordinary.
Rather than retreating, she turned her struggle into a powerful public platform dedicated to research and wellness. She became a devoted advocate and philanthropist.
Her primary focus was creating a comprehensive care environment. She founded the Olivia Newton-John Cancer and Wellness Center in Melbourne.
The facility, which opened in 2012, fulfilled her dream of creating a center that focused not only on conventional medical treatment, but also on emotional and spiritual wellness therapies.
She was also openly progressive in her approach to pain management.
She advocated strongly for the use of medical cannabis to ease the significant chronic pain she experienced from the metastatic bone lesions.
A position that was fully supported by her final husband, John Easterling, who specialized in rainforest botanicals.
And this transparency and public advocacy played a huge role in destigmatizing the use of medical cannabis for pain relief among cancer patients globally.
She used her voice to empower others, seeking holistic approaches alongside traditional treatment.
Her music during this period became deeply autobiographical and reflective of her health journey.
Her 1994 album, Gaia, One Woman's Journey, chronicled her initial ordeal.
And significantly, the sources note that this was the first album where she took full creative control, writing all the music and lyrics herself.
It marked a major evolution into an active, independent songwriter.
This focus on healing continued into later projects. Albums like Stronger Than Before in 2005 and Grace and Gratitude in 2006 were explicitly sold to benefit cancer research and related charities.
They often featured collaborations with other cancer survivors or individuals impacted by the disease.
And despite the profound personal challenges, she maintained an active and impactful performance career throughout the late 90s and 2000s.
Often marked by massive collaborative successes in her home country. Her 1998 main event tour with Australian stars John Farnham and Anthony Warlow
was a huge success. It yielded a quadruple platinum album.
And on a global stage, she had an astonishing moment of visibility in the year 2000.
She performed the song Dare to Dream with John Farnham during the Parade of Nations at the Sydney Summer Olympics opening ceremony.
An event viewed by an estimated 3.5 billion people worldwide.
That just speaks to her enduring global resonance.
She even found time to return to pop culture with humor, showing remarkable self-awareness.
She guest starred on the TV show Glee in 2010.
Recreating her famous physical video alongside Jane Lynch's character, Sue Sylvester.
And the digital release of that performance even charted briefly on the Billboard Hot 100.
Even towards the end of her life, she was embracing new chart formats. In 2015, she scored her first #1 single on Billboard's Dance Club Songs chart.
With her daughter, Chloe Latanzi, and producer Dave Audet.
The song You Have to Believe was a modernized reimagining of Magic.
She cited that collaboration as particularly meaningful, celebrating the 35th anniversary of Xanadu. She noted that Chloe was the real magic that came out of that film, as she met Chloe's father while filming.
That mother-daughter collaboration holds the distinction of being the first of its kind to reach #1 on the Dance Club Play chart.
Her final public performance was at the Firefight Australia charity event in February 2020.
And her final single, Window in the Wall, a duet with Chloe about unity and connection, was released in 2021. Beyond the professional milestones and public advocacy, her personal life was marked by relationships that brought great happiness, but also faced immense scrutiny.
And even contained an unexplained mystery.
Her early career saw personal turmoil. She was engaged to British producer Bruce Welch, known for co-writing hits like Please Mr. Please.
Their breakup in 1972 was reportedly devastating and led Welch to attempt suicide.
She later had a turbulent relationship with British businessman Lee Kramer, who served as her manager for a time.
A period she described as one long breakup, highlighting the emotional difficulty of juggling a massive career and personal stability.
She found stability in her first marriage to actor Matt Latanzi, whom she met while filming Xanadu in 1980.
They married in 1984, and their daughter, Chloe Rose, was born in 1986. Though they divorced in 1996, the sources confirm they maintained an amicable relationship afterwards.
But the most profound personal challenge, and perhaps the most enduring mystery, involved the vanishing of her boyfriend, cameraman Patrick McDermott.
During a 2005 fishing trip off the coast of California, she was in Australia at her retreat at the time.
A 2008 Coast Guard investigation ultimately concluded that McDermott was lost at sea.
However, due to his reported deaths and circumstances, unsubstantiated claims and intense media speculation persisted for years that he had faked his own death and was living abroad.
It was a painful and unresolved public mystery she had to navigate.
Her final marriage provided profound comfort and partnership. She married Amazon John Easterling, a specialist in rainforest botanicals, in 2008.
They were married first in an Incan spiritual ceremony in Peru, followed by a legal ceremony 9 days later.
Their shared passion for wellness, alternative therapies, and using plant medicine for pain relief defined their life together. It became a cornerstone of her final advocacy.
Looking at her legacy, the sources provide a beautiful anecdote that perfectly captures the unique public affection and esteem she commanded.
In 2019, hundreds of memorabilia items from her career, including iconic costumes, were auctioned to raise funds for her Cancer Wellness and Research Center.
The auction raised $2.4 million.
And the famous skin-tight leather jacket and trousers from the end of Grease the Bad Sandy outfit sold for $243,200 to an anonymous billionaire.
But the astonishing coda to that story is that the buyer decided to return the jacket to her.
He stated simply that it should not sit in a billionaire's closet for country club bragging rights, and belonged instead with her and her charitable work.
That act of anonymous generosity just speaks volumes about the warmth she radiated and the universal respect people held for her and her mission.
Beyond the anecdotes, we need to assess her technical musical legacy. Music critics often praised her vocal ability, describing her as possessing a pure, interpretive soprano voice with a wide note range.
Her technical ability often gets overshadowed by her star power.
But the sources point to a key piece of evidence: her live performance of Dolly Parton's Jolene. During that performance, she demonstrated an impressive 3-octave note range.
It showcased a versatility and control that allowed her to transition seamlessly between genres.
And that versatility is key to understanding her decades-long relevance. She successfully navigated the shift from the innocent soft pop aesthetic of the early 70s.
What we described as the AM gold staples.
Right. To the high-energy synthetic pulse of 80s dance pop. She was one of the few artists who adapted fully to the musical demands of 3 distinct decades.
Her reputation has consistently been described by the sources as that of an artist who was almost universally well-liked.
And viewed as an essentially kind and warm-hearted person. In many ways, her lasting legacy as a compassionate human being and advocate may ultimately supersede her impressive musical accomplishments.
That high esteem was formally recognized through numerous honors, including Officer of the Order of Australia in 2006,
Companion of the Order of Australia in 2019, and the high honor of Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 2020.
She passed away on August 8, 2022, at the age of 73, at her California home.
Tributes poured in instantly from around the world, most notably from her close friend John Travolta and from peers like Barbra Streisand.
Melbourne and Sydney lit major landmarks pink in her honor.
Her final wishes were incredibly personal. She requested to be cremated and have her ashes scattered in places deeply meaningful to her,
including Byron Bay, her San Ynez Ranch, and in other places that I love.
So, reflecting on this deep dive, we see a life defined by incredible duality and resilience.
She managed a career that stretched from innocent folk singing Bob Dylan covers to the aggressively commercial and hypersexualized physical era.
All while maintaining a foundational integrity and dedicating her later life to profound personal health advocacy.
She faced immense challenges, from industry battles to business failures to a multi-decade illness, with remarkable composure and strength.
And if we link her journey back to that crucial legal moment we discussed in Part 3, the MCA lawsuit in 1978, we find the profound, often invisible thread of her legacy.
That lawsuit forced the entire music industry to change how artist contracts were structured. It shifted the focus from arbitrary time limits that could trap a successful artist
to the quantifiable delivery of albums. This was a battle for artistic control and for fair terms.
And this raises an important question for you to consider today. While musicians currently fight for fair compensation and ownership rights in the digital age, whether it's over streaming royalties, ownership of masters, or publishing rights,
how much of that ongoing conversation about artist value and financial control is rooted in the single contractual precedent she set decades ago? She used her star power to fight for control over her product, setting the stage for every artist who demands fairness today.